Idris. In Islam, one of the earliest prophets. In the Bible and the Torah, he is known by another name, Enoch. And all three faiths say the same astonishing thing about him. He never truly died. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism all remember this same early figure, but each tells his story and his mysterious ending a little differently. Let's compare them side by side. First, what all three agree on. He lived in the very first generations of humanity, a descendant of Adam, long before the great flood of Noah. He was known above all for walking closely with God and for his righteousness in a world that was forgetting its creator. And all three share one striking belief about how his life ended. He did not die an ordinary death. God raised him up and took him away. That single idea, a man taken up to the heavens without dying, is the thread that runs through all three traditions. First, Islam, where he is called Idris. Here he is not only a righteous man, he is a prophet of God. The Quran calls him a man of truth and a prophet, and says God raised him to a high station. Tradition remembers him as the first man ever to write with a pen, and the first to study the stars, tracking the sun, the moon, and the seasons to measure time itself. He called his people to patience, to honesty, and to the worship of one God alone. In Islam, his raising to a high station is an honor from God, a sign of how beloved the truthful and the patient are to their Lord. In Christianity, he is Enoch, and his story is told in just a few quiet, powerful lines. The book of Genesis says simply, Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. The New Testament explains it as an act of faith. Enoch was taken up so that he would not see death, because his life pleased God. He and the prophet Elijah are remembered as the only two ever taken to heaven without first facing death. Christian tradition also recalls Enoch as a prophet who warned of a great and final judgment yet to come. So in Christianity, Enoch becomes a model of faith, the man who walked so closely with God that death was simply passed over. In Judaism, the story begins with those very same words from the Torah, but it travels somewhere extraordinary. Enoch walked with God and was no more, for God took him. In the plain text, the ending is brief and mysterious. Later Jewish mystical writings filled that mystery with wonder. In them, Enoch is carried up through the heavens. There, these texts say, he is transformed from a righteous man into a mighty, radiant angel, a heavenly scribe who records the deeds of the world. It is one of the boldest images in all of Scripture-inspired tradition, a human being raised to stand among the very highest of the heavens. So let's line them up. First, who is he? Islam calls him Idris, a prophet. Christianity and Judaism call him Enoch, a righteous patriarch who walked with God. How did his life end? Here, remarkably, all three agree. He was taken up to heaven without dying. The biggest difference is what came next. Islam, raised to a high station. Christianity, a model of faith who never saw death. Judaism's mystics, transformed into a radiant angel. One man, one mysterious ending, three faiths that all reach toward the very same sky, and picture what waited there in profoundly different ways. That's the story of Idris, or Enoch, across the three faiths. Which prophet should we compare next? Tell us in the comments and subscribe for the whole series.